Let's dive deeper into where we're at and why. Joining us to break that down, we have Khalid Iwamura, the founder of Insaga, a local digital news outlet in Ontario, and Anya Schifrin. She's the Director of Technology, Media and Communications of Columbia University. Anya, let's start with you. Meta says Canadian news content will be removed within weeks. How will that lack of access make the consumer, all of us, more vulnerable?
I'm not sure that I would look at it that way. I think that the problem is that Google and Meta are so powerful and they have a responsibility to carry quality information and journalism, and they should do it. So I think that their decision to drop Canadian news is highly irresponsible. And I think it will hurt audiences that rely on that information. So I don't think they should be doing what they're doing. And when you ask why, it's because they don't want to pay for it. And I think that's not a good position, because I think that we know quality information is valuable. Meta is making money off it, and they should be sharing some of that revenue with news publishers and news outlets.
Khalid, we're hearing this situation be referred to as a game of chicken with the federal government and Meta. So what happens next year? What can we expect of these negotiations in Canada?
Well, I hope they are talking, because at the end of the day, it's like they're not being transparent in regards to what's going on. I know from I talked to all the digital players, within the industry in Southern Ontario and in Canada. And we're left out in the dark. We have no idea what's going on. So at the end of the day, I hope they are talking.
Let's talk a little bit more, Khalid, about those smaller outlets, because this isn't just about CBC and other large news organizations. What happens to local, smaller publications like yours the longer this goes on?
Well, it's one of those things that, Insaga has, we're in 18 cities, we're in small cities, we're in smaller towns and cities. And realistically, there's only maybe one or two news outlets in that entire, town. So if you take us away and them away, they have absolutely no access to news. Some of these bigger markets, like Toronto and Montreal and such, they have dozens and dozens of access points to news. Where these smaller cities like, Milton, Burlington, don't have that. So, I mean, they'll be completely left in the dark.
And how much are you relying on advertising? How does that work? And how does this affect the money that comes in?
It will affect it. I mean, glad to say that, 60% of our traffic to Insaga is direct, which, smaller cities have a loyal fan base type thing. But we do advertising on Instagram, we do advertising on Facebook, and it will affect it. And the other thing is too, it's like with Facebook and Instagram, we're kind of lost too of what they're doing next. Could we still advertise? I'm sure Facebook and Meta will still take our money, but we just don't know how it's going to work.
Anya, we know that Canada is just another player in this game, essentially. So now that Canada is involved, what comes next on the global level?
Sure, and I think there's a few points I want to make. One is a group of us got together in South Africa in mid-July because the codes are spreading around the world, and we want to make sure that each country improves on the previous experiences and what Australia did. And so Canada's already taken a step forward because they have provisions that the money that Google and Meta pay are used towards supporting news, and the amounts need to be reported to the regulator. So that's already a step forward. Globally, there is momentum for these codes, and that's why Meta is acting so strongly in Canada. They're terrified that this is going to spread, but it will spread because publishers around the world know that their news is creating value for Google and Meta, and they should be compensated for it. I think that eventually they will have to back down because they do make money from news. And we're seeing more and more studies of that. There was a Swiss study recently that found that a Google without news really wasn't very good, and users stopped using it as much.
Anya and Khalid, thank you so much for your time.